Hey, what's up, Maniacs? I am Chris Motionless.
I'm Ricky Horror.
And we are Motionless in White. You know, one album that has been played for me a lot more recently would be Hybrid Theory. I think it came out in 2000. That was the first Linkin Park album that I believe, you know, set a lot into motion in that part of music, and it's interesting to listen to it now versus all the way back then, because after the fact of, you know, the passing of Chester, it's really interesting to hear the lyrics in a kind of a different way.
Yep.
I feel like I've always recognized what they've been about, but it's just different now to hear it, like I said, after the fact. So yeah, that's been one of my favorite albums of that time period and for that genre of music for sure.
I'm gonna say Follow the Leader from Korn. It was one of the CDs that my dad had in his collection when I was younger. And then later on I remember seeing the Follow the Leader, or the Freak on a Leash video.
Yep, that was my first introduction into their stuff.
Yep. And I just remember being like, this is sick. This looks, and even though, like, now looking back and watching it, the video's cool, but there's nothing about it that's like just crazy, you know?
I actually haven't seen it in forever.
So I guess when you're younger, you're just like, oh my God, just blown away by everything.
There's a bullet.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember coming home from school and watching TRL and just watching it just to see if Korn was gonna beat out Britney Spears, NSYNC, and the Backstreet Boys. And I was always so pissed if they were like number 3 or number 2 or whatever. And I remember they finally got the top spot, and I was fucking losing my mind. Just, that's what kind of teenager I was, just backing Korn on TRL, listening to Carson Daly talk about him, and I just thought it was so cool that it was like pop artist, rap artist, and then Korn in the midst of that. So, Hellbilly Deluxe scared the shit out of me when I first heard Rob Zombie. I remember the first time I heard it, I was I had a friend named Jeff who, at this point of my childhood, we didn't have a pool yet. So I always went to my friend Jeff's house to swim, and he had the album, and I remember him putting it on, and I think it's the sample at the beginning, it's like this little girl talking and saying this like terrifying little prayer or something, and I was like, oh my fucking God, what is this? It was terrifying, but it's so cool.
The only thing that I really remember back then about that album in specific was just looking at the artwork in there and being like, just because I was younger, so it was like all the naked chicks and shit on it, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Oh my God, tits.
Yeah, I can't believe they would put this in an album, but there's even some stuff that was like creepy looking, and I was just like, I can't believe someone would put this on an album.
Smash by the Offspring. Not exactly heavy, but you know, more of a punk rock album. But I don't know if you ever got into Offspring or not, but we just watched them at a couple festivals that we did in the States, and I know every word. They've always been a band that, like, I never really recall in my brain to ever say that I love them so much, but Americana and Smash were like huge albums for me in that time period. I remember the first time I ever heard the you gotta keep them separated, and it's just such a cool memory to think about, because this predates the internet of when I had heard it, or not the internet, but like being able to go on the internet and search for music, and I had to go to school and ask my friends if they knew what song it was by the you gotta keep them separated, and it took me like 2 days to ask my friends and for someone to know the band name. And then I'll throw a completely off the wall, not heavy album at all, but I still think every fan of heavy music loves this album and loves this guy. Weird Al, Bad Hair Day. Not heavy album, but I didn't know a person that wasn't listening to that. That was my first CD ever. There's no song that's ever gonna beat the funny Amish Paradise that he does. Were you ever a Weird Al fan?
I mean, I listened to some of them whenever they were on the radio and stuff.
The funny thing is, I knew that they were parodies, but I was still listening to them without really knowing what the other songs were. And I thought that was really funny, you know, later on finding out what they were and hearing where they were coming from. So yeah, heavy music fan or not, if you were a 90s music kid like we were and you didn't listen to Bad Hair Day, then fuck you. You're missing out. You need to go back and listen to it.
I know not your name. I would suffer forever to